What's up, everybody? Welcome to another video in the Ideal Auto Factory. This is where we talk about RCs and vinyl wrapping. Today, we're talking about this RC car again, this RDX, Team AD RDX. We're specifically talking about the Bumpsteer. So, I tried to make this video earlier. My mic wasn't working, and you already know, I'm not having that. So, I went ahead, think I got the learning curve down, but here we are. We're ready to go. Let's get into it. Keep God first. Let's check out the bump steer that's already on it. Over here on the tire, you can look and see that when I compress, I'm not steering the wheel. As you can see, the servo horn stays exactly where it's at. As I compress, the wheel toes in and out. So compress, toe in, decompress, toe out. Compress, toe in, decompress, toe out. And that's because of the setup down here. Now, most will probably be like, oh, that's textbook. That's how it's supposed to look. But take a deeper look here. See how that looks? Straight ahead. Looks parallel, right? All three arms look parallel to each other, or for the most part, parallel. So top arm, parallel with this arm, parallel with this arm. All three arms look parallel. But then you go a little more in depth here. And now this one looks like it's sloping downward, while the other two look more parallel with each other. From what I've been reading and hearing, word of mouth, the drift community, you want all three to be parallel in order to not have bump steer. So let's take a look at this side. Now that looks a little more parallel. These three arms look parallel to each other versus this one. This one looks like it's sloping downward. This one looks like it's barely sloping upward or just parallel. So what happens on this side? Absolutely nothing. There's no bump steer. There's no toe in or out when I compress or decompress. You can even see it wants to do a little toe out and then it kind of brings itself back. That's actually pretty cool that I'm noticing that now. And over here, you can see it does move. And then you can see them side by side. This one's moving, this one's not. Now, obviously I went ahead and fixed the bump steer on this side. So you can see here, this is pretty spaced out. The actual steering rod is spaced higher than it is on this side. This side is not spaced at all. So you're looking at it probably 5 millimeters. And I've used this piece, and this right here to achieve the space needed over here to make the arm parallel with each other versus this side. So I'm going to go ahead and put these on here and go from there. So I have changed the setup here. We now look more parallel. And there goes the spacer right there installed. So bump steer? Nope, no bump steer there. It's all gone, as we expected. But watch what happens when I turn in or out. Look at that wheel over there. Watch this one. It's doing all kinds of stuff. Now, why? Why is it doing that? And why is it only doing that on the trailing wheel instead of the lead wheel? The lead wheel's fine. Look at that, not going anywhere. Well, let's look at how parallel everything is. Everything looks parallel to me. Still, when you turn in the opposite direction, this now raises up just slightly. You can kind of see it there, causing it to not be parallel. Let's flip the vehicle to the other side so we can see this even better. When I turn in and I squat, I lift, something about that wheel over there just doesn't really sit well. It's this side right here. It's so much higher than what it is over here. So, in other words, I don't think there's a way to fully eliminate bump steer. And I don't mean that like it's a bad thing. I'm accepting that now. But in eliminating it here, you make it appear at the end of this sweep. Now, I'm not saying you should have that much suspension travel as you're drifting, but some people may. I've been on a quest to always remove bump steer where I can, and also learn about where bump steer is necessary, when to accept it, when to actually say to yourself, no, I can eliminate it. Let's do this. So this particular vehicle, I didn't like that when I was going straight, the suspension travel would make the wheels steer or go toe in or toe out. So I decided that I wanted to eliminate that. As I eliminated bump steer, I ended up placing it somewhere else. Now, I'm sure I could play around with everything and totally get rid of it. Maybe, maybe not. There's also been a theory or a geometry lesson that talks about basically when the steering linkage is almost in a there's a single point where all three axes, the upper control arm, lower control arm, and the steering linkage, they all can meet at a certain point. And if that point is somewhere in the middle of the steering, like directly in the center of the chassis, then bump steer can be eliminated as well. I'm not too sure. Like I said, I'm still figuring it out. But it was cool to totally eliminate it from when I'm driving straight. I did have to increase my toe a little bit in order to achieve the same acronym that I had before. But other than that, that's the only change I made other than increasing the space between the turnbuckle and the actual knuckle for the front. So there's the video. Hope you learned something. I definitely did. That's only on the knuckle side, just paying attention to the arms and just going from bump steer to no bump steer. Yeah, it's still there, but I'm embracing that. And if I pull out my MD1, it's the same. Matter of fact, let me show you that. Now, although my MD1 has a slide rack, it still has bump steer, almost non-existent here, but of course, different suspension travel. Likes to sit right there in the middle. It's a little more springy, but very minimal bump steer when it's perfectly straight. And then when we go full lock, watch that wheel. Look at that wheel. Turning in and out. Toe in, toe out. I'm sure the drive characteristics will be the similar now between this car and the actual RDX that has the Team AD chassis on it. But yeah, bump steer is still not fully eliminated. Bump steer just it just moved. So I'll be on my quest to continue doing that, to continue seeing where I can place the bump steer. Maybe if I put it directly in the middle somehow, I don't even know how that's even possible. Because I think it has something to do with caster angle and how that all plays into it. I really believe that at the end of the day, if you're only chasing bump steer, you're not going to drive the best. Zero bump steer and zero caster and all this other stuff. The car has to have some kind of character, right? Or you can't. The car has to like feel like something. You know, it has its own attitude. So I believe the Bumpsteer plays a part in that. And depending on your drive style, you may be that person that's like, I need Bumpsteer in the beginning, but I don't like it at the end. I need Bumpsteer in the middle, maybe not extreme in the beginning, and maybe not extreme at the end. But in the middle, I need a little bit. Or it could be the person that doesn't want it in the front, or when it's the vehicle's perfectly straight, and then you need it at the end of the steering wheel. Either way, here's my story of eliminating Bumpsteer, or so I thought. So thanks for watching the video. Hey, thank you again for all the support. The channel keeps growing. God is real. God is great. And I am so thankful that every day I'm alive to basically be wrecked by Jesus. So without further ado, I'll end the video here. Keep God first. Catch you on the next one.